Hello, thank you so much for tuning in for us to share a little bit with you about what your student can expect now between registering for orientation and coming to orientation, and also what they can expect at their orientation program. So, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tabitha Dawes. I serve as the Director for Transition Programs at Florida Gulf Coast University, and I am looking forward to seeing you when you attend orientation with your students. So, we are going to go ahead and jump right in. And we are going to start out with what students should be doing between when they've registered for orientation and when they attend orientation. So do note that this information has been emailed to your student. So I may say this multiple times in this presentation. One of the most important things that they can be doing right now is checking their Eagle email regularly. The university is only going to be communicating with students through their Eagle email account. So it's really important that they're checking that at least once a day. So they can expect information perhaps from the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, from orientation, from financial aid, from their academic advisor, so on and so forth. So really incredibly important that they are checking their Eagle email account. And some of the things that we've asked them to do is, first of all, to complete their pre-orientation modules. These modules are going to include some foundational information about resources on campus, opportunities that they will have as a student, and also some of what their responsibilities will be as they start their first semester of college. These modules can be completed at evo.fgcu.edu. They are video based, they're very straightforward. Students will log in with their FGCU email and password. And one of the most critical components of what they're going to see in those modules is how to register for classes. So, although the academic advisor is going to be assisting students with their course registration, it's really the student's responsibility to register for classes not only this semester, but also in future semesters. So really, really important that they are taking a look at those modules as soon as possible. So again, if they haven't completed those, this would be a good time to remind them to get those done. They're also going to be asked to submit the photo that goes on their student ID card. At FGCU, we call the student ID their Eagle ID card, and that card serves lots of purposes on campus. If your student will be living on campus, that's how they get into their residence hall. It's how they can pay for food if you purchase a meal membership. It's how they can pay for printing and laundry if you load money on there. It's how they go to games, so on and so forth. So lots of purposes for the Eagle ID card, and one of the components is that it does need to have their photo on there. So to upload their photo that they will use for their student ID card, they will need to download the eAccounts app. And when they download the app, it's a very intuitive process where they upload their photo. After they upload their photo, they will receive an email from the Eagle ID office. That email will either let them know that that has been submitted and accepted, or that it has been submitted and rejected. If it's rejected, they'll tell them why and how they can resubmit the photo. Typically, that's for reasons of the picture wasn't clear, they had sunglasses on, things like that. So once that photo has been accepted, the Eagle ID office will go ahead and print the Eagle ID card, and that ID card will be available for pickup at check-in when your student comes to orientation. So they will be ready to pick that up as long as that has been submitted before they come to the orientation program. The other thing is that now that we are in the month of April, students who are advised by exploratory advising, that's almost every incoming first year student, should have received an email from their academic advisor. And that email is going to have two really important things in it. The first one is going to be a link to the incoming student form. The incoming student form is where your student can inform their advisor of credit that they're expecting to bring to the university. Maybe they did it through dual enrollment, AP courses, those sorts of things. So any sort of credit they're expecting, and a little bit more information about them. And what's going to happen is that the advisor is going to review that information that students submit through that form, and they're going to help start putting together a schedule for their first or maybe first and second semester of courses. And that is going to help them prep for the meeting that your student has with the academic advisor. So important that they complete that form. And the other important component, sort of the second action step in that email, is to schedule their advising appointment with their academic advisor. Now, the academic advising appointment will take place outside of orientation. So in an ideal world, your student would actually be advised before they come to their orientation program. It can happen after the orientation program, certainly not the end of the world. But the most important thing is that they have already schedule that academic advising appointment. So again, if they haven't done any of these three things, those are certainly three things we would appreciate your help in reminding them that these need to be taken care of before they come to orientation. So they need to complete those modules, submit their Eagle ID photo, and also schedule their academic advising appointment and complete that incoming student form. Now, a couple others that I want to mention to you, they don't impact everybody, but they do impact a lot of people. So I want to mention these very quickly. The first one is that if your student is going to be living on campus, you want to make sure that you have completed the housing application and that you have paid the housing deposit. If you have not done that, that is paramount that you get that done as quickly as possible to make sure that your student has a place to live in the fall semester or the summer semester, if that is what your plans are. So again, if your student is living on campus, make sure that that has been completed. We always encourage students to complete the FAFSA or the federal application or the free application for federal student aid. So if they haven't done that, want to make sure that that is taken care of. And then the other one is about submitting immunization documentation. Every university, public university in the state of Florida requires the students submit immunization documentation before they can register for classes. So your student needs to submit proof of MMR, that's measles, mumps, and rubella, hepatitis B, and meningitis. Those three are pretty standard across the board. Those records can be submitted by going into the student health portal. So your student is going to log in to the student health portal. The easiest way to find it is either following the link from our email or just going to the FGC homepage, searching for student health portal. It's going to take you directly there. And when they do that, there is a link for forms, and under forms, it will say immunization, and it's going to show your student what they're missing and what still needs to be uploaded. So they want to take care of that as quickly as possible. Now, the reason I say this doesn't impact everyone is because if you are from Florida, your student has had their immunizations in Florida, and your records are in Florida Shots, that system that Florida uses, those get automatically uploaded to our system at FGCU. So if your students' records are in Florida Shots, my recommendation is still have them log into the student health portal, make sure that those immunization records are in, because if they go to meet with their academic advisor and they still have that immunization hold, they're not going to be able to register for classes. So really important that they get that taken care of before they meet with their academic advisor, and certainly before they come to orientation. So a little to-do list for your student. Again, this is information that we've emailed to them. It's also available on our website, but certainly things that we want to make sure are done, because if they're not, orientation starts to feel a little discombobulated, a little frustrating because some of these things haven't been taken care of. So it starts causing some roadblocks. So as much of this stuff that can get done as quickly as possible, that is always going to be our suggestion. So let's talk very quickly about generally what you can expect at the orientation program. And let me begin by saying, if you've come to orientation previously with another student, we have made some changes this year. And so I'll highlight some of those. One of those especially being that the orientation program check-in will now start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the first day. And so the first day is a little bit of a shorter day. We made that change for a variety of reasons. One of them had to do with academic advising appointments, but also many of you are traveling here from somewhere else. And so we had folks who were getting up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to try to get to campus by 8 a.m. We had folks who were traveling in who had to stay in a hotel overnight to be able to be here. And so we're trying to be mindful of that and helpful with that. And so that was another one of those reasons. But also it's a lot. Orientation is a lot of information. It's a big experience. And so we want to make sure that we're sort of building up to that, right? So having a little bit of an easier first day, getting into the second day of the program. So in general, that is certainly a major change that you're going to notice. In general, the orientation program for our first-time in college students starting in the summer or fall semester is a 2-day orientation program, and our parent and family program runs simultaneously with that. So if your student is coming to orientation, we also have an orientation program for you. You're probably seeing this because you're already registered for the orientation program. You are going to get a lot out of it. There is a tremendous amount of information. I think you're going to be really, really pleased with just how excited everyone is that your student is joining the FGCU community, but also excited we are that you're joining the FGCU community. And also how helpful everyone wants to be. Nothing is more important to us than seeing your student find success in a home at FGCU. And so you get to hear all about the ways that we've built in support to be able to accomplish that. So I think you're going to really get a lot out of the orientation programs. Of course, part of orientation will be hearing from those various areas, directors from various areas, associate vice presidents from various areas sharing that information with you. So I'll highlight some of those as we go throughout the agenda. Do know that we will provide food throughout the orientation program. So in the course of the 2 days, when you check in, it's in the afternoon. So come having already had lunch. Certainly you could have lunch over SOV dining if you would like to on campus before you check in, but make sure you come having had lunch. After that, we will provide dinner that evening. And then the following day, we will provide breakfast and lunch. So those are the meals that will be provided as part of the orientation program. And something I do like to mention is that orientation is required for your student. It is not required for parents, but certainly we love when you're a part of the orientation process because very often you're the one that's really tuned in and listening, and that is super, super helpful. So my encouragement to you is try as best you can to attend both days of the orientation program. Nothing is repeated from day 1 to day 2. That is really critical. So if you miss one of the days, you are certainly missing a component of orientation. So if you can at all, please do try to attend both days of the orientation program. And do know that everybody who is attending does need to be registered for the orientation program. So if you have other folks who want to attend the orientation program with you, your student can go back into their Future Eagle account and add those guests now. Or if the program has reached capacity, you wouldn't be able to do that, and we'll take care of that during the check-in process. So those are just sort of some of the highlights of what the orientation program will include. So when we think about the schedule for the first day, when you arrive on campus, you're going to see signage pointing you to parking and check-in, all that sort of stuff. If you're a little bit familiar with campus, you will be parking in parking garage 1. That is located between Sugden Hall and Academic Building 9. And so when you get out of the parking garage, you're going to see our staff there and also some signage. Check-in will begin in Academic Building 9. Now, I do want to mention to you that your student, for their overnight stay, as long as you are going to be here for the orientation program, we ask that you go ahead and leave that luggage in your car. So students' luggage should stay in their car. The only exception to that is if students are being dropped off or if students are driving themselves. If that is the case, they can bring their luggage into check-in and we will take care of checking it for them. But in general, luggage needs to stay in the car. You'll complete the check-in process in Academic Building 9 and then also in the Cohen Student Union, which is where the majority of our program will be taking place. So we'll go through the program welcome. Some really important presentations on that first day of the orientation program, including Money Matters, which is about financial aid and how to pay the bill. You will hear from the FGCU bookstore about how students can purchase books while they're here, and also some of the other opportunities that the bookstore offers. Live the FGCU Life is by our Housing and Residence Life team that will talk about move-in, what students can expect with living on campus, so on and so forth. Dining will share a little bit about meal membership opportunities, where students can dine on campus if they're not interested in meal memberships, how they can pay for food on campus. We'll have dinner that evening and also an opportunity for you to see the residence halls if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, is when your student moves into their room for the night. So that is a really terrific component of the orientation program, but it's only for your student. So the student is the only person who will be staying overnight for the orientation program. You might be laughing right now, but trust me, every summer we have a parent who has snuck into their student's room and is planning on sharing that twin XL bed with them. So do know that parents, if you are coming to orientation, you're gonna wanna make sure that you have your arrangements made for that evening because only students will be staying overnight. And then that takes us to the second day of the orientation program. In terms of timing, you can imagine that check-in will start around 1 o'clock. You'll finish dinner and housing check-in somewhere around 7:30 p.m. So that is sort of what your first day of the program looks like. The second day is going to be more of your 9 to 5. So 9 o'clock in the morning, we'll have breakfast catered for you on the first floor of the Cohen Student Union. Your student will be coming over from their stay on campus. You can meet there, ask them how they slept, all that good good stuff. And then we'll have a quick welcome, and then we'll go into staying safe and living well at FGCU. So our University Police Department will be represented there, our Student Care Services, the Dean of Students Office, Counseling and Psychological Services, Student Health, all of those components of how we try to provide resources to help your student stay well while they're here at FGCU. We'll have a student panel, some opportunity for you to ask current students anything you would like to know about the student experience here at FGCU. We'll go into More You Know, which is a conference style portion of our orientation program where you and your student can choose what you'd like to hear a little bit more about. So if you're very interested in study abroad, or maybe hearing about the campus ministries we have on campus, or perhaps hearing more about housing because you still have questions, there will be several sessions for you to choose from. You and your student can go to those together, or you can split up and kind of conquer a little bit more. So those are conference style sessions, followed by our catered lunch. And then First Year Foundations is a presentation about how we can help make sure your student is doing what they need to be doing in their first semester, especially. So we're going to cover components such as if your student is taking a university transition course, what they can expect out of that, meeting their service learning requirements, getting connected with career development services as quickly as possible, getting extra support through tutoring or supplemental instruction from the Center for Academic Achievement. Things of that nature will be covered in that presentation. And then we're going to go into academic advising presentations in your student's academic college. And so they will share with you reminders from what the advising appointment was like and how to register for classes, what future registrations will look like, those kinds of things. So really important presentation that you and your student will be together for. And then I have to admit, favorite presentation of our parent program is the adjusting to having your student in college presentation. Of course, orientation is primarily about your student. They're starting this really exciting experience, and there's a lot to know. There really is a lot to know. It's like starting all over again in a lot of ways. But this presentation, this is about you and your family, and how this is also a transition for you. And so definitely one that you're not going to want to miss. It is always good. And then we will get back over to South Village where they stayed the night before. They can pick up their items and they'll get a t-shirt after coming to orientation, and then you are finished for the day right around 5 o'clock. So if you are making flight plans, you want to make sure that is evening flight plans or the following day if there are evening flights available, because they will be here until 5 o'clock and maybe even a few minutes after getting checked out and those sorts of things, depending on how long that takes them. So that is what you can expect of the 2-day program. Now, if you would like to look at this agenda in a little bit more detail, it is not completely finished, but you can download our app that you'll be using in the orientation program from the Google Play Store and also the Apple App Store. You can search for FGCU or Florida Gulf Coast University. You're going to see that there is an app there powered by Guidebook. It's also the app that you would have used if you came to Eagle Expo or Say Yes to the Nest. And that is where you can download the orientation guide, and that guide will show you the schedule for the 2 days of the orientation program. We'll remind you about that later, of course, but in case you're curious, you're welcome to do that now. Now, when it comes to what you're going to want to bring to orientation, it's a pretty short list. Definitely bring a phone. You'll use that for submitting questions to be answered, your schedule, all those sorts of things. Because you are using that pretty frequently, you may want to bring a charger. We always had parents asking us for chargers. We recommend bringing a water bottle. There are refill stations throughout campus. We try to be conservative in terms of the water bottles that we're doing. That would be a lot of water bottles throughout the summer. And so it's really helpful if you can bring a water bottle to refill as you are here on campus. That is what everybody on campus pretty much does. So I would highly recommend that. Do know that the buildings can get cold in the summertime because the AC is pumping. So if you are someone that tends to get a little cooler in those buildings, make sure you bring a jacket and also maybe something to protect you from the rain. If you're not from Florida, I'll let you in a little secret. It's probably going to rain if it's summertime. So an umbrella, a rain jacket, something like that. And of course, any questions that you have. If there are things on your mind, make sure you bring those, because that is our opportunity to make sure that you have all of your questions answered. Now, I do want to mention to you that we are currently undergoing some construction on campus. So, as you are here for orientation, I just want to apologize in advance, but also give you the heads up that there is certainly a large construction project that's happening on campus. So, you are going to hear some noise, see some dust. It is not going to look its prettiest while you're here because we are undergoing construction. But very soon it is going to look really tremendous over in the Cohen Student Union. We're adding additional student space, additional student meeting space, conference rooms, that sort of thing, and really upgrading the look of the Cohen Student Union. So it's going to look really, really nice in the future. This summer, it's going to look a little bit like a construction zone. We are doing everything we can to minimize the impact, but do know that that is something that is currently ongoing. Now, I want to cover very quickly, your student is going to be staying overnight. They are going to be staying in Everglades Hall. And so, couple things I'll mention about this. If you haven't seen the residence halls here on campus, these are suite style. So there's a suite with a shared bathroom and two private locked bedrooms so that your student will stay in one of those private locked bedrooms and share a bathroom with one other student. For the overnight stay, your student is going to need to bring their bedding. So that is twin XL size. That includes the pillows that they are going to need, a blanket, sheets, those sorts of things. So imagine you're going into the room, you're getting the furniture, a shower curtain, and some toilet paper. So that is what has been provided by Housing and Residence Life. And so you will want to bring the other components of that. So in addition to the linens, they'll also want to make sure they bring toiletries for showering, towels for drying off, also a water bottle, a phone charger. They are also going to be doing activities that evening. So if they plan to go over to the rec center, they are going to want to bring closed-toed shoes to be able to go to the rec center. And if they plan to use that beautiful resort style pool while they're here at orientation, that will be available overnight, weather permitting. And they will want to make sure that they have a swimsuit to do that. Certainly something to take notes, an umbrella. Sometimes they'll want to use money at the vending machines. Those can also take Apple Pay or a card. And something to kind of hold all the materials. We find that as students go throughout campus, they pick up brochures and giveaways and all that sort of stuff. So a bag of some sort is also very helpful. That sort of wraps up our content portion of this time. And so I do want to make sure you know that if you have any questions at all, we are here to be helpful. You can reach out to us at parents@fgcu.edu, orientation@fgcu.edu, or you also see our phone number there on the screen. We would love to be in contact with you. We would love to be helpful to you. But if we don't hear from you between now and then, we look forward to seeing you at orientation. Wings up and go Eagles!